Hi everyone, it's Mrs. Wine. Welcome back to art class. Today is day 5 of our Andy Warhol printmaking unit, and today we will be stamping the details of our flower prints. Our learning target says I will add details to my flower prints using ordinary objects to create prints. So the first thing we have to do is we have to think about where we can add details to our prints. So let's zoom in and take a quick look at a couple of examples from Andy Warhol. When I look at the first print at the top, where can I find details in the flowers? When I look very closely, I notice that inside the middle of his flowers, there are a few marks to show where the center detail of those flowers would be. What about the bottom flower? I notice a detail that shows me where the center is. I also see some details that show me the edges of the petals. So those are some ideas that we might want to choose for our own flower prints today. The next thing I need to think about is what kind of ordinary objects could I use to create those prints? Today I'm going to share with you 2 examples. One is using the eraser of a pencil. That will give me a nice round dot. The other idea is to use a piece of a cardboard tube, such as the inside of a used up paper towel roll. This is a nice way to recycle an ordinary object that I can use to make different prints. I will help you choose a color that will work well with your prints and give you that color on a plate. Then you're ready to decide what kind of prints you're going to make and get started. I'm going to start by showing you how to use the eraser to make some prints. It's really simple. I'm just going to take the eraser and I'm going to dip it in the paint. Then all I have to do is make 2 or 3 dots in the middle of each flower. Now it is important that I want all of my flowers to look the same. If I start to run out of paint, I just dip it and get a little more. And I can decide how many dots I need in the center of my flower. Like I said, 2 or 3 should do the trick. So that's one really easy way to make some details in the middle of my flower, just like Andy Warhol. How can I use a cardboard tube? Well, if I look at the shape of a cardboard tube, I see that it's a big circle. So I'm going to show you on another page how I could use that. I can take the cardboard tube. I can also place it down in the paint. And then I can carefully put that cardboard tube right in the middle of my flower, press it down, and lift it up. Put it back down in the paint, press it down, and lift it up. And I can repeat that in every one of my flowers. And one more. And now I have a detail showing me where the center of that flower would be. There is one more way that I could use a cardboard tube, and that way's a little trickier. The last thing I could do with the cardboard tube is I could take a pair of scissors and I could cut it in half. So I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut the tube. Then I'm going to rotate it around to the other side and cut the tube. So now I have 2 pieces of that cardboard tube. I could sort of curve that piece up, and that's going to give me a nice curved edge like a petal. Or if my flower print is kind of pointed on the end, instead of curving that, I could take that edge and I could sort of pinch it so that it comes to a point. Now this is the trickiest way because now it's a little less stable. I really have to hold that together. So I think because most of these flowers are curved, I'm going to keep the one with the curved edge. And then what I like to do when I print is I like to stick my finger, my pointer finger, sort of down inside that tube, and that helps me hold it together. And then the printing is kind of the same way. So I'm going to hold that tube. I'm going to press the ends into the paint, and then I can use that to stamp around the edge of every petal. I get more paint, and I think it's a little easier to kind of rotate my print around than it is to twist my arm around in a strange angle. And remember, it's a print, so it doesn't matter if I print exactly on the edge or not. And then I can just keep going. I can do the other flowers as well, getting more paint, twisting my paper around, until I've printed all the way around the flower. I have to be really careful not to stick my arm down in the paint or down in my print. And I'm just going to make sure that I print on every single petal if I'm doing the method where I'm printing around the edge. Now also keep in mind that I could combine 2 of these different methods. I don't want to combine all 3 because I think that will make my flower look a little bit too junky. But I could come back and I could combine some ideas. Maybe I take this idea of printing around the outside and then I could put a big shape on the inside. So now I've put 2 different methods together. What would it look like if I took this and I added just a few of those little center details? I want to make sure I get each one printed. And if I do 4 dots, that I'm doing 4 dots in every flower. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or lastly, I could take that idea of the dots and I could combine that with going around the edge. On this print, I used just that pointed shape. So now I'm going to trade in my curved cardboard tube for one that I'm going to pinch on the end and make it into that little sharp edge. You'll see how that one looks now. So again, I'm going to put my finger in the middle. I'm going to stamp the pointed edge, and then I'm going to line up that pointed edge as best as I can. So you can decide today if you're going to use one stamping method or two, and you can decide how you want to print your flowers. I cannot wait to see your finished Andy Warhol design. I hope you have a wonderful week. And until next time, keep on creating.